In this tutorial we're going to do a little bit of advanced body reconstruction, and I say advanced because we're going to end up with roughly the same result as we did when we altered Rebecca's curves using the liquify tool. However, if I zoom in on the torso and switch off these layers, the legs lengthen layer which I created using the puppet warp tool, and this face sculpt layer which also contains the information for our body sculpting, I'll switch those off before and after, and you can see that this hand moves a little bit to the left. And that was unavoidable as obviously it moved when we pushed the hip to the left a little bit. But now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go back to our original shape, and once again we're going to slightly alter these curves to accentuate them. However, we're going to keep the hand exactly where it is. And we're going to do this for no other reason than it's a little bit of a challenge, and to get what we want we're going to have to combine a few of the techniques which we've covered already. And hopefully at the end of it you'll understand that with just a little bit of lateral thinking you'll be able to pretty much deal with just about any situation that presents itself in retouching. For example, imagine in a commercial sense that Rebecca was holding a product in her right hand, or leaning against something, and she wasn't allowed to move it. Or rather, the product wasn't allowed to move, but you still had to accentuate the hips. Then you'd have to think a little bit outside the box to achieve what you want. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to mask out what we've previously done. So Command 0 to fit to window. Now I should point out that it's not necessary to do this tutorial in order to continue on with the rest of the DVD, all the other tutorials, to end up with a finished result. You can, if you like, just stick with the basic body reconstruction layers that you did using the liquify tool. However, if you just want to challenge yourself, then I highly recommend you try out this tutorial, even if it is a little bit convoluted. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to leave my legs lengthen layer switched off, and I'm going to switch my face sculpt layer on, and I'm going to paint out what I don't really need. So I'm going to add a layer mask, and on my brush tool, with black as my foreground color, with an opacity of 100%, so if you're not sitting at 100%, just hit 00, and on your layer mask, paint that black over that part of the body that you've adjusted if you've done the previous tutorial with the basic body reconstruction. If you haven't done it, then obviously you don't need to do this step, which is to paint out what you've already achieved. So what we're going to do is, now that we've got everything we need, we're going to copy everything we see on a separate layer by using copy merged, Command Option Shift E, and there's our new layer, layer 1. Now I'll just zoom in on the torso area. And in the previous depatching tutorial, I've created a couple of paths here, one of the body and one of the arm, with the path that cuts off at the shoulder and goes around the fingers. Now because I've painted out what I've previously done, this hand is not quite aligned. So I'm going to make a little adjustment there. So onto my pen tool with the P key, hold down the Command key and click and drag over that area that I need to redraw. Hit delete to delete those points. Now I'm going to go in and just finish depatching around that hand a little more accurately. There we are. Now that I've adjusted the arm path, the next thing I need to do is draw another path of the new hip and waist that I need to create. So I'm going to create a new path just dipping inside the waist to make it a little bit smaller and just outside of the hips just to accentuate them a little bit. So I'll go ahead and do that now. So here's my new path which I've named waist, and what it's done is, as you can see, it just dips in on the waist here and comes back out on the hip. And then what I've done is I've included a large section of the body. It's quite a large shape so that it gives me plenty of room to use a large paintbrush when I'm painting inside this area. The next path we're going to draw is one just around this part of the bikini and where we want the bikini bottoms to jut out. So I'll go ahead and do that now. And so here's our final path, which I've called bikini bottom. And you'll notice that what it does is it follows along outside the edge here, so that's where our new bikini bottoms are going to jut out to. And when it comes to this section, you'll notice that I've followed along the seam of the bikini because we're going to be using this little section in a little bit later on. Command minus to pan out a little bit. And our first step is we're going to make a copy of this arm, and we're going to copy it onto a new layer. So I'm going to select my arm path right here, come to make a selection, and with a feather radius of 1, I'll tick OK, and there's our selection. Back into my layers palette, and I'm going to hit Command J to copy that arm onto a new layer. And there it is. Now we don't need it just yet, so I'm going to switch it off after I rename it arm, and I'll turn it off. And underneath my arm layer, I'm going to create a new layer, and I'll rename this new waist. Back into my paths, and on my waist layer here I'm going to command click on that, knowing full well that the last time I made a selection of a path the feather radius was of 1 pixel, so this will also be the case with this new selection right here. So I'm going to zoom in, back onto my layers, with my new waist layer selected, onto my brush tool with the B key, reduce it in size a little bit, and I'm going to invert the selection because I want to paint outside this shape. So Command-Shift-I, and I'm going to Option click on the background layer to take a sample of this background shade of white here. And I'm going to paint over this patch of flesh here which we no longer need. Now, it doesn't really matter if we paint over the hand because we're not going to be using this hand here. We're going to be using our new arm on this separate layer. So there we are, we've gotten rid of that flesh that we don't need. Now I'm going to recreate some of this waist along here. So Command-Shift-I to get back onto our main selection here. Option click on this nice dark patch of skin here on the edge so that my foreground becomes this dark flesh colour. And with a low opacity brush, say about 30%, so I'll hit the 3 key, and I'm just going to paint that over the edge. Just like that. Next I need to get rid of these fingers here. So I'll Option click on this lighter patch right here, and I'll do the same. I'll just paint over those fingers. Now there's a bit of a harsh transition in colour here from the dark to the light. So I'll sample a mid-tone colour, say this tan colour right up here. Option click on there, and I'm going to very gently just brush in between those two colours just to make the transition not quite so abrupt. That looks okay. So very simply, there's our new waist. Now what we have to do is recreate the bikini bottom. Command D to deselect. I'm going to create a new layer above our new waist, and I'll rename this bikini bottom. Go into our paths, command click on bikini bottom, back into our layers. Now what I might do is I'll just go into our original new waist here and hit delete because I want to delete that area that we painted over the bikini. Now back to our bikini bottom layer. Option click on this nice light blue right on the edge here, and keeping a low opacity brush, it's currently at 30%, I'm just going to brush over this patch here, over these fingers. Now I'll Option click on this slightly darker patch of blue here and paint that just a little bit further in. That's looking pretty good. Now I'll switch off our old layers, go back to our layer 1, and with this same selection here, I'll just hit Command J because I want to copy that little section that we had going, and I'm going to bring it above my bikini bottom layer. Switch those layers back on again, add a layer mask to it, and with a brush opacity of 100%, so I'll hit 00, then I'll just paint over and get rid of this section of the hand. And because it's this section that I'm after, all I have to do is come up to Edit, Transform, Flip Horizontal, Command T for my free transform, and I just have to move this little area, this little stitching, to exactly where I want it. So I can just tilt it around, like so, and hit Enter. And if I want to make some finer adjustments to warping this into place, I might just come back up to Edit, Transform, and click on Warp. Now I'll zoom in a little bit closer, and I'll just click and drag on those points that I want to bring down. Say that stitching to about there, this patch of stitching just a little higher, and maybe just drag over this a little bit just so it covers those fingers. Like so. So I'll hit Enter, and we're almost there. I might just bring this part of the bikini into the Liquify tool just to get a nice curve going there. So get my marquee tool with the M key, make a selection, filter, Liquify, increase my brush to about there, and just pull this section out a little bit just so I have a bit more of a curve. Just like that, and hit OK. There we are. Command D to deselect. Now I might just refine this edge right here, so go back onto my layer mask, and just with a small brush, B for my brush tool, I'll just paint that edge so it's a little bit more sharp. There we are, Command minus to pan out just a little bit. And one thing that's really obvious at the moment is these new areas we've reconstructed, basically the waist here on the skin, is that doesn't seem to have any grain. It's a little too blurry, which is always the case when you're painting skin with a brush tool. And also the same is happening with the bikini here. It doesn't have the same grain as the original bikini. So first of all, I'm going to go to my new waist layer, zoom in a little closer just so I can really see the grain. Come up to Filter, Noise, Add Noise. Now all you have to do is experiment a little bit with the percentage of noise to see what most suits the rest of the skin. So let me type in 2 and see what that looks like. And that might be a little bit too much, so I think I'll just go back to 1% and click OK. Now to the bikini bottom, I'll select that. I'll do the same, Filter, Noise, Add Noise. And in this case, I think a percentage of about 2% will probably most accurately represent the grain that's on the rest of the bikini here. So that looks pretty good. So I'll click OK. Command minus to pan out a little bit. And now I can just switch on my new arm. And now the only other thing that's missing is the shadows underneath the hand. So if I quickly have a look at the original, we've got these dark shadows and we don't have that, so we've got to fix that. So firstly, I'm going to duplicate my new waist layer just in case I stuff up a little bit. So I've selected it, Command J to copy that, and I'll just rename it, instead of New Waist Copy, I think I'll rename it New Waist Shadows. So looking at the original, it's a little darker in this section right here and down here. So what I'm going to do is, with my brush tool, B for the brush tool, I'm going to Option Select this really dark patch on the edge of the arm here. That's probably the closest to that color. And with a low opacity of, say, maybe 20%, so I'll hit the 2 key, I'm going to gently brush some of that darkness in on our new bikini layer. Or should I say, new waist layer. That will do. Now I'll just paint in some new shadows. So to do this, we're going to use the Dodge and Burn tools, or should I say just the Burn tool. Now to get onto the Burn tool, just hit O, and it will take you to this submenu right here. And for future reference, if you want to cycle through the Dodge and Burn tools, you just hold down Shift O, and you can cycle through that submenu. So this is the Burn tool right here, and with mid-tone selected, and a low exposure of say 10%, and also with Protect Tone selected, we're going to have a quick look at the original and then try to emulate or copy those shadows. So I'll have a quick look at the original and start trying to copy those shadows. We're getting there. And now we have to do the same with the bikini. So I'm going to merge this new stitching we've flipped here. I'm going to merge it down with the layer below it to the bikini bottom layer. Command E. And I'm going to duplicate that. So once again, just in case I stuff up, and I'm going to rename this Bikini Bottom Shadow. Have a look at the original. And start trying to copy those shadows with the Burn tool again. Command minus 2, just pan out a little bit and see what we've done and see if it looks realistic at all. So I'll option click on the eye icon of the original layer, before and after. And we've done a pretty good job of quickly recreating that hip and waist and bikini bottom. Command 0 to fit to window. Now all I have to do is switch on my original legs lengthen layer and just zoom in on the edge here to see where it's a little bit misaligned. So before and after, and I can see that there's a little bit of misalignment here going on with the new edge and the old edge. And I think in this case the easiest thing to do is probably just to paint out this edge from my legs lengthen layer. So with my legs lengthen layer selected, I'm going to add a layer mask, back onto my brush tool with the B key at 100%, 00, and I'm just going to paint away that top part of the legs lengthen layer and bring back some of our new stuff that we've recreated. And that looks perfect. Command 0 to fit to window. So there's an example of what you can achieve once you've wrapped your mind around a few of the basic tools within Photoshop. So hopefully if you do this tutorial, you may pick up a few new tips in order to help you get around some problems which may present themselves in your retouching.